In this video, I'm going to discuss the idea of having fairness criteria when we are voting. Now, in voting theory, we say that an election is fair if it satisfies certain criteria. Depending on who you are, and depending on your values, and depending on what you think is important, there are different ways to define something as fair. In fact, if I go to Wikipedia, and this article is called Comparison of Electoral Systems, you don't need to read it very carefully, but if you just look, when I scroll down here, you have mathematical criteria, and these are the types of fairness criteria that exist in the world. If you notice here, I can just keep scrolling, and keep scrolling, and keep scrolling, and there are a lot of them. So as you can see, there are a lot of different fairness criteria. This is way too much for this class, but as I said before, it just depends on what you care about. In our class, we're just going to look at 4 different fairness criteria, because they are related to what we have talked about before. So the first one is called the majority fairness criteria, and it says this: if a candidate is the majority winner, that is, that candidate has more than half of the first place votes, then that candidate should be the winner of the election. Or in other words, if a candidate has the majority of the first place votes, but does not win the election, then this is a situation where the majority fairness criteria was violated. So I have an example here. Here's a preference schedule. There are 25 total votes in this preference schedule, so that means that we need 13 for a majority. And as you can see, candidate A is the majority winner. But let's say that I've gone through and calculated the results of this election using the method that I feel like. And the method that I picked actually came with the result that candidate B is the overall winner. Since candidate A is the majority winner, but according to my method that I used, I said that candidate B is the winner instead, then if people care about the majority fairness criteria, they are certainly within their rights to declare that this election was not fair. The second criteria is called the Condorcet fairness criteria. This says that if the candidate is the Condorcet winner, that is, that candidate won every head-to-head election, then that candidate should be the winner of the election overall. Therefore, if the candidate is the Condorcet winner, but does not win the election, then this is a situation where the Condorcet fairness criteria was violated. So for example here, I have a voting schedule. The candidate B is the Condorcet winner. You can check if you like, or you could just trust me on this one. But let's say that I go through, work out my results, and I declare candidate C to be the winner. If you think that the Condorcet winner is important, if you find the Condorcet fairness criteria important, then after this result, since candidate B is the Condorcet winner, but C is the winner of the election overall, then definitely you would be allowed to say that this election was not fair. My third criteria is called the monotonicity fairness criteria. It's a little bit weird, but it's not too bad. It says that if a candidate wins, and then in a re-election, the only changes in the ballot are changes that favor only the original winner, then that winner should still win. For example, if candidate B won the election, and then in a re-election the voters think more favorably of candidate B should still win. So here's an example. Here's my preference schedule. And I have determined that candidate C is the winner. So now we have a re-election, and the 4 people in the last column changed their mind. So here's the new preference schedule. So if you look at the last column, in the re-election, 4 people in the last column have decided that they like candidate C better. So now more people have ranked candidate C as their favorites. But after I'm done calculating the results, let's say that I have decided candidate B is the winner. Well, this is an example where more people voted in favor of candidate C, but candidate C now lost. So if you care about this fairness criteria and looking at these results, you would definitely be allowed to say that in this election the results were not fair. My fourth fairness criteria is called the independence of irrelevant alternatives, or IIA for short. This says that if a candidate, I called him candidate X, if candidate X is a winner of an election, and in a recount, one of the non-winning candidates withdraws or is disqualified, then candidate X should still be the winner. For example, if candidate A were to win an election, but then candidate B drops out and candidate C wins, we have violated IIA. So, people who are in favor of this fairness criteria are definitely allowed to say that this was not fair. So there are a lot more fairness criteria out there, but these are the 4 that we're going to care about in this class.